I had an experience with the Klan. They came to my house when I was little. But my mother, this is a strong woman, my mother, she went right to the door and opened it and gave them candy. And my mother used to tell me this thing, I don't even know if you remember, but you said this to me more than once. You said, son, sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are.
This shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 Black men, women, and children were killed in violent lynch mobs.
That's your explanation, but
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been.
There are protests and vigils and prayers going up for a despicable, deplorable, detestable, loathsome white man. 21-year-old young black man was found lynched in his university campus.
Dave Chappelle is cutting deep again, calling out the wild hypocrisy behind America's reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Nobody is saying we should cheer a man's death, but the treatment Kirk got afterward was almost saint-like. His body flown on Air Force Two, flags dropped to half-mast, talk of him lying in state, even whispers of a statue in the Capitol and a Presidential Medal of Freedom. All that for a man who never even held public office. That's not just unusual, that's unprecedented.
Today at 5 p.m., I was fired from my job for posting a video saying I don't care about Charlie Kirk's death.
Now here's the part that really stings. At the very same time, two young men, Mississippi college student Trey Reed and a homeless man named Corey Zuccotti, were found hanging from trees, lynched. Their deaths raised chilling questions, yet the media stayed almost silent. Police brushed it off fast, saying there was no foul play. But let's be real, this is Mississippi, a state with a bloody history of lynching, and today's political climate makes those claims way too convenient.
What the 60s must have been like for anybody. What was it, 8 or 9 assassinations? What does that do to a generation? Having lived through that and having known those people. This is me. I imagine I'd still be angry.
Chappelle's point hits hard. America has always run on double standards. Certain lives spark nationwide outrage, while others are swept under the rug. Look at what's happening right now. Kirk's death has dominated the news cycle. Celebrities and politicians won't shut up about it. Social media has been flooded, and get this, regular folks are even losing their jobs just for saying they don't care about him. Meanwhile, those two men who turned up dead in Mississippi, their stories barely even made a ripple in the headlines. And that's exactly what Chappelle is pressing. Why is the public being punished, even fired from jobs, just for refusing to mourn the death of a man who openly carried racist views? The hypocrisy is glaring. Think about it.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 as a huge mistake.
Correct.
Two black men are found hanging from trees, and instead of outrage, their deaths are brushed aside like background noise. That's not just neglect, that feels intentional. Police call it no foul play, while the nation's cameras are locked on Charlie Kirk like he was some kind of fallen king. The contrast is chilling, and it tells you all you need to know about which lives are given value in America.
They were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
If you're sick of the gaslighting, being told that Kirk's death is the only tragedy worth caring about, then stick with me, because in this video, we're going straight into how Mississippi is quietly sliding back into old violent patterns, and why the mainstream media doesn't want you to connect the dots. A lot of people are saying the same thing. Yes, Charlie's death is tragic because any human life lost is tragic, but let's not sugarcoat it. America is scrubbing his image clean in real time, turning a man who openly pushed white supremacist views into some kind of national hero. That's not mourning, that's rewriting history.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racists. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 50.
Look at the moves being made already. Trump personally ordered U.S. flags to fly at half-staff for Kirk, and then, just 24 hours after his death, Congresswoman Nancy Mace jumped on X to announce she's filing a resolution to let Charlie Kirk lie in honor at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Her post said, Charlie Kirk devoted his life to defending freedoms, inspiring millions, leading souls to Christ, and standing firm for the First Amendment. Such a legacy makes him uniquely worthy of this distinction. That's the official spin. But pause for a second.
Authorities say the body of 21-year-old Demartravion Trey Reed was found hanged from a tree by a faculty member near the pickleball courts. Word spread quickly throughout the Cleveland campus, leaving students and others concerned and worried.
Well, because I am a black student, hearing that happened to another black student, it really made me feel, it's make me feel unsafe.
I do have to walk to class, and I like to go walk on the track, and it would be happy to know like what happened.
Local and state investigators immediately started looking into the incident. DSU Police Chief Michael Peeler says investigators found no evidence.
This is beyond ridiculous. Lying in honor at the Capitol is not some casual tribute. It's one of the highest ceremonies this country can give to a private citizen. Only a handful have received it, and those few are remembered for extraordinary service or sacrifices to the nation. One of those names, Rosa Parks, a woman who risked her life for civil rights and changed history forever. And now Republicans want to put Charlie Kirk in the same category? The audacity is insane. This is a man who spent his career tearing down marginalized communities, pushing white supremacist talking points, and calling the civil rights movement a mistake. And now they want to immortalize him under the same dome where Rosa Parks rests in honor. This isn't just spin. This is national gaslighting on full display. They're asking the public to swallow the idea that a man who built his career off hate speech deserves to be remembered alongside real heroes who literally risked their lives for justice.
Members of Reed's family are insisting on a thorough investigation.
Please, 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 please do your research on this. Do not let them sweep nothing else under the rug. Enough is enough.
And just when you think it couldn't get more outrageous, the pageantry goes over the top. Charlie Kirk's casket wasn't just sent home quietly, it was flown from Utah to Arizona on Air Force Two, personally escorted by J.D. Vance. And if that wasn't bizarre enough, the military honor guard was ordered to carry his casket like he was a decorated war hero. That move set off a firestorm of outrage, especially from veterans who called it a disgrace. One furious user on X wrote, "Black soldiers must have looked at that task with nausea. This is the same man who once said he wouldn't want a black pilot flying his plane." That's just one piece of the hateful rhetoric Kirk was known for. Another user blasted, "It's a shame the Air Force Honor Guard is carrying Charlie Kirk's casket. The Pentagon owes us answers." And they're not wrong. Kirk never served a single day in uniform. He mocked veterans, spread division, and thrived on tearing people apart. This isn't honoring sacrifice. This is pure political theater, dressed up in military uniforms, an insult to every fallen soldier who actually earned that respect.
Billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this, we're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina,
let's not forget, we're talking about a man who openly claimed black people were better off before the Civil Rights Act, and even said black women lack the brain power to succeed without affirmative action. While the country stages this giant mourning parade for Charlie Kirk, black folks just trying to live their lives are suddenly being dragged into it. They're getting blamed, scapegoated, and even punished for supposedly celebrating his assassination. One Texas student got expelled after someone secretly recorded her cracking a joke about Kirk in a private convo. Imagine that, expelled over a joke. And she's not alone. People are losing jobs, being harassed online, all because they didn't shed tears for a man who said flat out that civil rights was a mistake. Let that sink in. So now it's not just about honoring Kirk, it's about forcing everyone else to play along. If you don't join the state-sponsored mourning, if you don't cry on cue, then you're painted as the problem. This isn't grief. This is pressure. This is control. They're rewriting what mourning even means, turning it into a political loyalty test. And while all of America's cameras are glued to Kirk's funeral spectacle, what's slipping through the cracks? The real tragedies. Because in that same exact week, 2 men were found hanging from trees in Mississippi under circumstances way too suspicious to ignore. One of them, 21-year-old Demartravion Trey Reed, was a black college student at Delta State University. The other, 36-year-old Corey Zuccotti was a homeless white man from Vicksburg. Authorities wasted no time shutting the door on Trey Reed's case way too fast. They declared no foul play almost immediately. But Trey's family isn't buying it. They're demanding an independent autopsy because the so-called official story has holes you could drive a truck through. Something's not adding up and the family knows it. And Corey Zuccotti's death, just as chilling, just as suspicious. Same method, same week, same haunting timing, yet the details are locked up tight. No clear information about how it happened, no answers for the public, just a quiet brush-off. Reports from Yahoo confirmed the basics. Police discovered a man hanging from a tree in a heavily wooded area near the Ameristar Casino. The coroner identified him as Corey Zuccotti, age 36. Warren County Coroner Doug Husky confirmed the body was found Monday, September 15th at around 10:30 a.m. And then, silence. No deeper report, no explanation of circumstances, nothing. Here's the kicker. Corey was found just hours before Trey Reed's body was discovered. 2 hangings in Mississippi in 2025, within mere hours of each other, at the exact moment Charlie Kirk's supporters are out here screaming about a new civil war. Are we seriously supposed to chalk that up to coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. That's for you to decide. But one thing is undeniable. The mainstream media is intentionally drowning us in wall-to-wall coverage of Charlie Kirk while straight up ignoring the suspicious deaths of these 2 men in Mississippi. And here's where it gets even darker. One of those men, Corey Zuccotti, was white, but he was also homeless. And that detail matters, because just days before his body turned up hanging from a tree, Fox News host Brian Kilmeade went on national television and openly suggested that homeless people should be executed. Yes, executed, with lethal injection. He didn't whisper it. He didn't backtrack. He said it plain as day. Now connect the dots. Kilmeade makes that outrageous statement, and 2 days later, Corey Zuccotti is found dead in the woods, hanging from a tree. When Brian Kilmeade says we should get rid of the homeless by lethal injection, let's be clear about who he's talking about. He's not just ranting about some nameless crowd. He's targeting everyday Americans, veterans, trauma survivors, people living on the edge with nowhere to turn. Instead of housing, healthcare, or compassion, he's calling for state-sanctioned executions. And the craziest part, those same voices want you fired, silenced, or dragged online for daring to crack a joke about Charlie Kirk. That's the double standard laid bare. This is exactly what Dave Chappelle has been calling out. The hypocrisy so deep it feels like parody. He compared it to what went down after the Capitol riots, when the system showed mercy to insurrectionists but destroyed Colin Kaepernick's career just for taking a knee in protest. The scales of justice in America aren't just tilted, they're rigged. We are living in dark times, no doubt. On one side, America is busy turning Charlie Kirk into some kind of martyr, dressing his memory up like sainthood. On the other side, 2 men are found hanging from trees in Mississippi. One of them was a young black student, and that barely even scratches the national radar. Wild, right? When people cry, the system is broken. Nah, the system is doing exactly what it was built to do. There's straight-up psychological warfare being run on the public, and the cameras only point where the power wants them to point. Don't let the media, politicians, or so-called influencers gaslight you into thinking you're the one who's wrong for seeing it. You're not crazy for noticing this. Wake up and speak up. Tell me in the comments how this whole mess lands with you. Why is Charlie Kirk's death acted like a national emergency while Trey Reed and Corey Zuccotti get erased before their stories are even told? Why is grief mandatory for a guy who said civil rights was a mistake, but invisible when black and poor folks are clearly in danger? These double standards are loud as hell. In 2025, what does this say about the direction of this country? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation needs to happen now. And don't expect it on News Nation, CNN, or Fox News. Like, subscribe, share, comment, and see you on the next one.